format for Final Show, new format for Oxbow School. But I think we have a lot to show in terms of the artist's work. So we're really excited to share that with all of you. So my name is Alex Kelsey. I'm the environmental science teacher, and I'm the director of Res Life. And I'm here with Megan Broden.
I'm Megan. I'm printmaking and academic dean. And Alex and I are going to be your faculty co-hosts tonight. And we just want to really thank you for showing up and showing out. I know it's a really challenging time, and we both really love the in-person final show experience. And so it's really special for us, and I know for the students, for you to be here on Zoom tonight, and hopefully it goes smoothly. So the current plan is that we'll hear first from a small group of students, take a break and come back for the rest. And we'll be reading that order in a minute, but basically we wanted to make sure that everyone knows how to ask questions as effectively as possible, so that we can kind of get everyone's questions answered and move forward. So we will, in a second, we'll start with Anastasia, and the format will hold true for everybody. But Anastasia will be invited to provide a recap of her project that hopefully everyone saw in the gallery yesterday or today. While she is talking, either Alex or myself will screen share her project so that you can be reminded of what it was. And while that's going on, while we're showing her work and while she's talking about it, we're asking you to please write your questions in the chat. The chat is at the bottom of your screen. It's a little speech bubble. And as soon as someone writes something in there, it will pop up like so. That means that our students can see all of your questions and work their way down the list. While your question's being read or answered, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you'd like to engage in further conversation. Otherwise, we're just asking for everybody to stay on mute so that there's no audio interference. But I think that will work. And I think that was all I needed to say. So for this session, we're going to hear from Anastasia, Finley, Kylie, Rey, and we'll end with Vera. So unless there's any questions from the student group, I think that Anastasia, you can kick us off on this virtual Q&A.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Anastasia, and I'm from Westchester, New York. So my project was based off of the lives of my brothers, and this is them as babies. This is my blog that I created, and it's called Where We Can Talk, and it's basically where young adults and teenagers can come and talk and get information and basically just come together and just communicate as siblings or relatives of people with special needs. So these are my paintings that I did for my project. I did one of each brother. On the left is Jesse, and on the right is Jake. And the reason why they're one is black and one is white, I just thought I'd point this out before anybody asks any questions, is because Jesse, 2018, April 3rd, Jesse passed away from pneumonia. And he had been battling like all of these different like sicknesses and all of this stuff, and that he was very fragile, medically fragile. So he decided to, or God decided to take him home. So that's what happened. And his twin Jake was painted after Jesse's painting, obviously, but like the yeah, that's basically what I have to say. So for the questions, Finley asked, Why did you only choose to paint their faces detached from their bodies? That's a great question. I don't actually know. When I was painting Jesse, um, I wanted to just kind of like encapsulate his face and just take that away from what I was painting, like the reference picture. And so originally I had a background behind Jesse, which was split into two halves, which was one side was army green trees, and the other side was like a nice like pink salmon color. And I really didn't like the way that it came out, so I decided to paint it black and created this idea where I would paint Jesse's background black and Jake's background white, kind of like symbolizing life and death. So yeah. OS40 or Alex asked, can you explain what your aims are for your website? So my aims for my website are to basically just become a community with all of the people that have, not all, but a lot of the people that have people in their lives with just any kind of like special needs. So basically it's basically what it says, like just where we can talk. It's just very chill, kind of like relaxed kind of thing that yeah. Megan asked, and how do you hope to see your blog develop? How do you hope to get this resource out there? I hope to get it to develop by just communicating it, and really just like promoting it through social media, and just telling people about it, because it's really important to me. And this cause is like, my brothers are a huge part of my life, and if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. So they're really, really important to me. So I really want this to flourish and make a really big difference in my life. Kylie's family asked, how old is your brother now? Jake is 21, and Jesse would have been 21 as well because they're twins. So yeah, but he died when he just turned 19. So Daisy asked, what is it individual choice to have Jesse looking over? Oh, was it? That's a great question. My mom actually asked me that the other day. It was not an intentional decision. The reference picture that I was using to paint Jesse, I was actually kissing him on the cheek, which is why he's like looking in that direction. And it wasn't intentional at all. But I really do appreciate that way of thinking, because that like really does open up a whole new can of worms that I really, really appreciate you opening. So, so my mom asked, why wouldn't, or Cindy Keefe asked, why wouldn't you be the, if it weren't for your brothers? And that is because I'm adopted. So my mom couldn't have any more children after my brothers for medical reasons. And so because I wasn't here yet, but my parents decided to adopt because they wanted more children. And if it like, and so if they didn't have my brothers at the time that they did, and how they came to be with having cerebral palsy, because of being 24 weeks premature, I wouldn't be here because they would have what they wanted, like through having like two beautiful boys that are healthy and stuff like that. And since they aren't, they wanted more children and to really expand the love. And why I've been here. And yeah, so that's that. Thank you guys for listening. And now I would like to pass it on to Finley.
Hi, I'm Finley. I'm from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. I chose to study the fashion industry and how it's changed to become unsustainable and unethical in America over the last 100 years. So for my project, I made my own small fashion collection to kind of like discuss like one way that you can help.
Oh my God, sorry, Finley, I'm trying.
Maybe Finley, you could say a little bit about the kind of like format.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Could you say a little bit more about the format of this kind of collection of photos?
So I kind of wanted to show like my process. So I'd never sewn any clothes before this, so I kind of wanted to show that like anybody can sew clothes, like if that's something that they want to do. Kylie's family asked how long did it take to create the collection. So I spent a total of like 9 days actually sewing this stuff. So there were 6 different garments and sewing, but it probably took about 3 days of like preparation, like sketching out my ideas, like making my own patterns from scratch and stuff. Kylie said, do you plan on making more designs after your experience making these? Yeah, I kind of do actually, because like now that I've done it, I feel kind of more like confident in taking risks with this. I didn't think that I could ever like accomplish this before I started doing it. So I think that now that I've like done this, I feel like I could definitely keep doing more. Rey asked what my inspirations were. So I kind of based it off of like vintage styles, but I wanted them to be like somewhat more modern so that they were like appealing to like a younger set of people, since I kind of wanted to get my message out to them, since the fashion industry is like primarily like young people who are buying stuff lately, and that's like who it's been marketed to with like fast fashion. So I think that I kind of wanted to like target my audience as like a younger group of people. Carrie says, would you share the significance of the 4-leaf clover? Okay, so like finding 4-leaf clovers, like I can find them all the time. I don't know why, but I found so many throughout my life. Actually, right after I finished the collection, I found my first 5-leaf clover. So I kind of just like, that's a symbol of like good luck to me. And my great grandmother, like that was something that she could always do, is just find 4-leaf clovers. So like throughout my family, we've also had lots of seamstresses and tailors and stuff like that. So I think that that's just kind of like an important like quirk about myself that like I kind of share with like my great grandmother. So I wanted to like keep that going. Megan asked if I anticipate making more of my own clothes in the future. What about for other people? So after seeing like a response from people of like the stuff that I made, it sounded like people would actually want to buy this stuff. So I've thought about potentially like opening my own Etsy shop or something. But I've also thought about like doing something with making clothes as like a career one day. So I'm not really sure like how far I'm willing to get into this, but I am willing to like make stuff for other people, and I have lots of like other design ideas for myself too. Alex asked, can better fashion make a significant impact to climate change / environmental degradation? That's like a big part of what I researched later on in my magazine, which you can find on the Oxbow website, and you should go read it because everyone should know all this stuff about the environment. But like stuff with climate change, like it's really important, like the carbon emissions that the fashion industry puts out are like overwhelming. That's something that we need to like focus on changing over the next couple years in order to like avoid significant damage. And then also with like the pollution of everything with dyes and like pesticides and growing cotton, like it's severely like damaging the environment over time. So that's something that we should start like focusing on like sooner than later. Kylie's family asked how I decided to focus on the intersection of fashion and sustainability. I've kind of always like been really passionate about the environment and fashion. So I think that like knowing that they intersected kind of just like I branched off from there to like discover all the different ways that they intersected, as well as like how people can make a difference. What inspired the designs of the clothes that you made? I'm not sure actually. I just like I'd had different ideas of certain things that I had wanted in my wardrobe, I guess, and that kind of helped it. But I just kind of started sketching, and like after that I kept going with just different ideas, like improving what I had. Cindy asked, did you go to Oxbow with the intent of developing your artistic talent in fashion? I kind of had thought about it before, but I wasn't sure exactly like how I would do it since I'd never sewn anything before and I had no like fashion design experience. But I had been planning to do this as my final project since about halfway through the semester when we got sent home. So it was like really cool to actually end up getting to do it. And then Anna asked how I dyed the yellow fabric. I went out into my yard and I picked dandelions and I got turmeric. And so I took the dandelions and the turmeric and boiled them in a pot on the stove with vinegar. And then I put the fabric in for about 20 hours and that's the color that it came out with. So I think it's really cool, like discovering natural dyes. And I definitely want to keep going more, getting more into natural dyes because you can use so many different plants. So, but yeah, it's a really easy process. I encourage people to try and natural dye. I think that's it. Thank you guys. I think Kylie is next.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kylie. I'm from Philadelphia. And for my work, I created a video collage based off of vintage footage from the 60s and 70s around the use of psychedelics and their experience with counterculture and the government. Yeah, and my purpose for this project was to kind of explore the possibilities that psychedelic therapy have, and that's what I focused on in my paper, which was the other part of this project. And I really wanted to focus on how the biases that were held on both sides of the argument, kind of like how that stopped them from being realized and showing their full potential. So Alex asked how I found the footage that I used. I searched a lot of YouTube videos and I just kind of went down a little rabbit hole and, you know, I found some interesting results. Megan asked, why did you choose to make this film of found footage? I felt that found footage would be better because it was from a time where these psychedelics as a substance were viewed as more of like, it was more new. It was more, there weren't bigger opinions on them where they are now, where they're Schedule I drugs and most people view them as just inherently bad. So I thought that it would be better to find footage from a time when it was still, like they was still being investigated. There were less opinions on it. It was more of just, this is here and we need to look into it and not this is bad and we need to stop it. How are you introduced into psychedelics for therapeutic use? I did a paper in 9th or 10th grade about hippies, and in that paper I kind of found a lot about psychedelics, and I have been doing quite a bit of research on them ever since, just intermittently in free time and sometimes during school projects. And I've slowly come to find that they're like, I was questioning mostly like, why are these drugs illegal? Because what I was finding is that they're not dangerous, they're not addictive, but for some reason they're put into Schedule I, which means that they're highly addictive and have a high potential for abuse. So I was trying to figure out why that happened, and I came across psychedelic therapy. Can you talk about the current medical research and uses. What I found for current medical research is that, as I talked about in my paper, psychedelics are very helpful when it comes to dealing with addiction, treating treatment-resistant depression, and some types of anxiety, PTSD. It treats a lot of things that talk therapy simply just can't really help with. Why do you think that LSD became less popular? Do you think it's becoming popular again? LSD definitely became less popular because it was associated with counterculture, which was very controversial at the time. And I think that brought it down a little bit. But within counterculture, it was viewed as a very helpful substance. It was seen as a way you could expand your consciousness. It was seen as a tool. And I think that because that culture had a lot of drug use like inherently with it, it became seen as just a drug that people abuse. And Carrie says, have you seen the film Fantastic Fungi? I haven't seen it, but I will. That does sound like it could be very interesting. And Viri says, what's your theory as to why they were outlawed? I think that it's simply because they were so intertwined with counterculture. And I think the government realized the power that these drugs have help people realize things about themselves, and they were not feeding into like conformity and organized government. And I think that that's why they were outlawed, because they were seen as something that could possibly uproot our society a little bit. Alex asked, what does hallucinogen research seem to show about how our brains work in relation to addiction, trauma, PTSD, etc.? What psychedelics do is they can help dismantle our default mode network, which is pretty much like the default at which our brain runs to keep us safe and keep us protective. But what it does is it like collects pretty much a lot of stuff from bad memories to help us stop doing that kind of thing again, so we can learn from our mistakes. But as we get older and as we create, like it gets more and more funneled and more in one direction, it's harder for us to differentiate and find new ways of thinking. And that's how things like trauma, PTSD, and addiction can like get so cemented in our brains, and it's hard for us to treat them and hard for us to escape them. And what these do is they give us a break from that, so we can take a step back and look at it from a more objective point of view, like remove yourself from the situation and evaluate your trauma. And it helps you not just like deal with it, but find ways to cope with it and work through it. It's a really interesting way that I've never heard of anything else that works that way. So it was kind of really interesting for me to find that. Colorado did just decriminalize psilocybin, and I think that there's a bright future for psychedelic therapy, because I think that it's just such a wonderful thing that when used correctly and in the right situations, it can be a wonderful tool for rehabilitation and treatment of a lot of mental health issues that we don't have a treatment for yet. Does this topic connect to any of your longer term interests after the project? I hope that I will one day, if it gets past the medical trials and gets past everything, I hope that one day I can try and experience psychedelic therapy in a professional setting with a guide and I just really hope that I can have the experience of working through my personal problems from a removed perspective. And I think that's it for the questions. And next up is, hold on, I gotta find it. Rey is next up.
Hi everyone, I'm Rey. I'm from Passaic, New Jersey, and for my project, I made a quilt, and it's kind of about like what home is to people and how that differs for everyone. And like to me, it has a lot of like blocks of memory. That's what like the front part is, and on the back there's a very short poem. And yeah, I did a lot of interviews with people about their experience living at home during quarantine, and how for a lot of people like me and everyone else at Oxbow, we were living away from home, come back, and like college students and that kind of thing. So very interesting. from Finley, is there a meaning behind the fabric you chose for the quilt or how they're arranged? Well, most of the fabric within the quilt is from different pieces of clothing and stuff. And most of it is made out of carpet because, I don't know, I just decided that would be an interesting time. So yeah, like there's corduroy from old clothes I had when I was a kid. The cheetah print is from this towel. And like, yeah, there's just a bunch of every like piece reminds me of like a certain memory about either my house or like growing up. So yeah. From Megan, in your paper, one of the people you interviewed talked about getting new skills in quarantine. Is sewing a new skill for you? It's not a new skill, but this is definitely the biggest project I've made and probably taken me the longest, but I'm enjoying sewing. From Alex, what are some of the crucial moments in your research interviews in terms of realization, things you want to share? Well, so one of the people I interviewed was a librarian from Washington who, you know, she's obviously not in her physical space right now, but she's talking to me about how the library's tried to provide support for the community over there and how difficult that's been. And like, I'm privileged enough to like be at home and like have internet access and all this stuff. And it's like, even though there's a very specific media interpretation of what's going on, there's like a whole really wide range of people going through just crazy things at the moment. And I think that's part of why I wanted to research this, because obviously you cannot know everyone's experience, but I think by finding out about different ones, you can help like think about it more. I don't know. From Carrie Zeiser, what tools did you use to cut the carpet? Regular scissors. Yeah, I could not find a rotary knife, so regular scissors. From Daisy, is this an object you can imagine adding to as you make new memories? I don't know if I'd add to this specific quilt, but I do want to like make similar projects in the future. But like, so kind of, I guess, in a way. Megan wrote, your early research ideas were really intriguing, and I think you definitely led you to this. Could you provide a very brief rundown of that? Yeah, so originally I was gonna talk, like in my paper, I was gonna talk about like the history of places, because I just come home and like stayed home for the first time in a few months. And I went to the park one day and I realized that they had changed the flow of the river artificially, which is a very weird thing to do. And I don't completely understand why the town did that, but that's what happened. So I wanted to talk about how like nothing is really permanent and that kind of thing. And like, I'm sure since I've been at that park when I was a kid, there's been 1,000 different people who've had 1,000 different experiences there. So and then it just kind of led me to like home life. How big is the quilt? I don't know exactly, but I want to say about 35 by 40 inches. It's not too big. It's smaller than a normal quilt. It's like a baby quilt. Can you tell us more about the saying you chose to on to the quilt? So I did write a longer poem. It's on a different page on the website. If you go to the menu and it says carpet, it's on the left side.
Oh, sorry.
And I was gonna put the whole thing on there, but I didn't exactly have the time.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, I could have been showing this. All right, here we go.
No, it's okay. So I just picked that first phrase because like childhood, whether or not you realize it, is happening consistently when you're a kid, and obviously you don't really realize what's going on, but like you just like one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore, and like you don't even like, it's slowly, but the realization just happens, and once you have that thought you can't exactly go back. And it's kind of like how, like, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like you're becoming a different person. Like you're never the same person, every moment you're someone new, even if the change is like minuscule. And sometimes it feels like whatever you're turning into is kind of against your will. So yeah, I wrote a little more. There's another, yeah. If you like look around, there's a few tabs about this kind of thing. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. But oh, do you write often? Yeah, I write a lot at Oxbow. I wrote a lot more than I usually did, which was interesting. And I guess I've been stuck on writing about childhood. Okay, well, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening to me talk about this. And I'm going to pass it to Vera.
Okay. Just pretext. Mine is unfinished, but I do plan. Like, I have. It's going to be finished in like either tomorrow or the next day. Just because I don't really know how to use Premiere, and I didn't. Whatever. Okay, I'll just start. Okay. So basically, I wanted to write a play, but it's more like a dialogue a little bit, and the two kind of like topics I wanted to explore that inspired me was well, the first one was how like theater and plays and movies and books, how like putting people into certain situations can reveal things about the human experience and reveal truths about life and stuff. So the truths that I kind of wanted to explore were time, fate, free will, and process versus product. So then also the second part I kind of wanted to explore was kind of the process versus product thing, like what a play could be, and if you could kind of do an immersive production, because in a lot of the plays that I've like been in, it's like, okay, you do like 2 months of rehearsal, and then over one weekend you do the play twice, and then it's over. So process, I mean, the product is very much the process, but they're pretty separate, and it's kind of the process, whatever. But what I wanted to do was combine the two. So in it, I play both characters, but then I had one of them progressively paint the set like as the play went on. So like as it went on, you know, the set would become more full, and as it developed, it would reveal stuff about like where they were and what was happening in the plot a little bit. And I also kind of wanted to give the idea that the characters were deciding what was happening to them at the end a little bit, even though it was technically like predestined because of the set. I wanted to give the idea that the ending wasn't concrete, and that, you know, they were kind of figuring it out as they went along. Yeah, I can show you here the premiere okay, so here's just like a shot from it. So I put myself in like really weird makeup just to like kind of like Charlie Chaplin. It's kind of like a Parent Trap type beat, but like I put myself in like really weird like Charlie Chaplin like dramatic makeup, just kind of like accentuate the idea of like, I don't know, that it was theater, but not really. I don't know. Okay, so questions. What did your research consist of in answering that deep question, or was the research more focused on the writing of the play? Okay, so I read a couple of plays. I'm like really blanking on what they were. I read a like 2 Shakespeare plays. I read Twelfth Night. I reread Twelfth Night, and then I reread Macbeth. Just because like Shakespeare's like the ultimate like human experience writer, I guess. And his like truths about the human experience really, really come across. That's what his plays are about how, you know, dialogue and like set and plot can like the human experience, I guess. Um, um, but then, oh yeah, and then I just kind of decided that I wanted to like exaggerate almost this idea of that. Okay. Can you ooh, ah. Can you explain some of your in-camera tricks? Okay, so basically what I did in order to like play both parts was I taped my phone to like the bottom of a chair leg and then like put it up, and so the camera was stable, and then so I would paint like the first was going in the background of the first part, and then dress up like the first character and then film it, and then dress up like the second character and then film it, and then in Premiere I collaged the two together, so it looked like it was like one thing happening at once. The background is beautiful. Oh, thank you. How much set creation did you do? Okay, so at Oxbow I kind of developed a style of painting that I was happy with, I guess, and I really wanted to like incorporate that into it. So I literally just put up a tarp and then painted a tree, and then painted like where the play kind of progressed to, and yeah. So I would have to paint. Yeah. Yes. I'm like really, really close to being done. I'm not very skilled at Premiere or time management, especially being at home and like having anxiety. Like it's just been hard to kind of get it done. But yeah, I've been kind of trying really hard to do that, but it should be really, really soon. Does this project reflect your future goals? I really, really do want to, besides art, like visual art, I really do want to be acting when I'm older. Just because people have always really fascinated me, and I don't know. I've just always loved to kind of encompass other people, and yeah. So it's just always something I've been really passionate about. So yeah. This is really cool. National theaters broadcasting theater productions via YouTube during quarantine. Do a live stream. Do you mean like a lot? Wait, go on a live stream or do a live stream? Oh, that would actually be a good idea, but I already kind of filmed. Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that. Like, oh, should I, because it's a play, like, am I just filming it or should I like literally do it live? But it's kind of would be really hard because I was like doubling a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to do, but didn't really know how to do. Oh yeah, I could. Oh yeah, you're right. I should do that. I kind of just got the question. Yeah. I don't know if I would like announce I was live streaming or whatever. Yeah, I could. I think I could do that. That's a really good idea. Yes, thank you, Daisy. Okay, I think I'm the last one.
You are. Thank you, Vera.
Thanks, Vera. So maybe we'll give just a moment as we kind of move through this flow. Maybe some of you had questions that came up for the artists. I wanted to give an option for anyone to ask any questions that skipped over or just kind of like maybe occurred to them later on. And if not, I thought we're incredibly proud of OS42 for taking this challenge on. This is like the most difficult final show and the most difficult collective arts practice that we have ever seen at Oxbow. And so the work that these students did, and both in the kind of art making process, as well as their research and writing that kind of form the foundation of this work, is really immense. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't encourage you strongly to read the writing that they have up on their website, or up on the website, that kind of will give a deeper background into every single one of these students' work. Hours and hours of research and writing. So please take a look at that. Megan, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't. Other than that, I'm just really proud of OS 42, and I know we've said it like day after day, but you've done an incredible amount of work. And I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, back to when I was in OS 15, and I genuinely like don't think that I could have done my final project at home. Like, I know I couldn't have for so many reasons, and to see you guys work through that is really inspiring. And Daisy is an alum as well, and I'm sure having some similar feelings right now, just like intensely impressed and proud of all of you. And I hope you have a relaxing day tomorrow, knowing that this is all done and behind you, because you really deserve that celebration. And I think that's it for this session, unless there's other questions. And we'll be back at this link at, I think, 5:45 for the next group of about 5 students. You're welcome to join us back at this link, or join any of the other session 2s that are coming. All of the links are in that email that went out from Jennifer. And I was wondering if we could all unmute ourselves and give a round of applause. It sounds really cute. Okay, thank you. Adorable. That's it from Alex.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. This recording will be available in a couple days. We'll email them out. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good